There are westerns about revenge, and then there's the Outlaw Josey Wales, Clint Eastwood's dusty masterpiece about grief, grit, and the long ride towards redemption. This isn't just a shootout story. It's about a man running from the world that killed everything that he loved in the opening scene, and what happens when the world tries to catch up. So with that, let's break down the Outlaw Josey Wales. We open in 1865 in Missouri. The Civil War is still raging strong. Josey Wales is a peaceful farmer tending his land with his wife and young son. But within minutes, peace dies. A band of Union redlegs, merciless raiders storm his home. They burn everything, they kill his family, and they leave him bleeding in the dirt for dead. The tone here is pretty quiet. It's almost like a horror movie. There's no big score. There's no slow motion heroism. It's just fire, screams, and a bunch of loss very quick. Eastwood directs this scene with rage held still. You feel the silence afterwards, and it's the kind of silence that builds legends. Wales buries his family, forges a revolver, and starts practicing slow, deliberate, deadly shots, and he doesn't really talk a whole lot. He just kind of loads every click of the cylinder and sounds of this gun. I had like a lot of other things I was going to say, but I thought it was so funny when I originally watched this film a few weeks ago, because I literally was like, oh, because like, older films, like, we don't have the John Wick thing where people are reloading and this and that, whatever. And I was like, he's just got 30,000 shots in this revolver, doesn't he? But I realized by the time when I'm finna get to it, by the time other people get to this film, I was like, oh, this was like a little montage. Did not once cue you that it was a montage, because he's like shooting the same thing and he doesn't move or whatever. But I was like, oh, this is like over the course of days. At first I was like, oh, he's got 50 rounds in this 6-shot gun. It was crazy. And I just thought that was funny. That was a little funny add-on here for you. We cut forward. Josey's joined up with Confederate guerrillas led by Bloody Bill Anderson, fighting not for glory but for vengeance. And he becomes a type of myth character, the quiet killer who never misses, of course. But when the war ends, his comrades surrender under orders from Fletcher, a Union officer who promises amnesty. Josey doesn't trust it, which I'm like, that you shouldn't. And he's right, because the Redlegs ambush the men as they lay down arms. It's one of the film's best directed scenes, very slow tension. There's a lot of chaos, gunfire, smoke, betrayal. Don't make them like this no more. And Josey barely escapes, leaving his fallen brothers behind. And from here on out, he's branded an outlaw, and the government wants him dead. Fletcher's men hunt him, and Josey rides south alone. And that is the start of his legend. Now, this stretch of the movie, kind of like an Act 2, plays almost like a Western road trip, but every stop kind of reveals another scar. Wales rides with a young soldier named Jamie, the only other survivor of the ambush, and they find temporary rest in an old woman's farmhouse, but they're soon surrounded by bounty hunters. Josey tells Jamie, "You ready, boy?" And then he steps out calm as sunrise and takes down 5 men before they can blink. The pacing here is pretty classic Eastwood. It's very methodical, patient, and also brutal when it needs to be. And each kill is very precise. You have each pause kind of lingering, and Jamie's wounded in the escape and ends up dying on the trail. Josey buries him, and then he keeps moving. The score fades into a quiet guitar, the sound of a man with no reason left except to keep breathing. As he keeps traveling south, Josey keeps attracting strays. People broken like him. First is Lone Waddy, an elderly Cherokee played by Chief Nan George, one of the film's highlights. He's very funny, wise, and blunt, and says things like, "I didn't surrender, but they got my horse, and it made me surrender." Their chemistry is very perfect in this film. They give the film a lot of soul and a lot of balance to Josey's stone silence. Then they meet Little Moonlight, a young Navajo woman rescued from Comancheros. Soon after, a group of settlers, including Grandma Sarah and her granddaughter Laura Lee, join them after their wagon train is attacked. The film starts to soften here, and you realize that Josey isn't just running anymore, and he's collecting fragments of a new family. Each one lost something to the same violence that made him, and they settle on an abandoned ranch, trying to build something out of the ashes. Meanwhile, the hunt is still continuing. Captain Fletcher still tracks Josey. Torn between duty and guilt, bounty hunters keep coming and dying, and every confrontation becomes more poetic. There is the saloon scene. It's pretty infamous. You got Josey, who's relaxed and almost polite, until he, of course, draws faster than humanly possible. There's a poker game ambush scene, a single bullet echoing through smoke and whiskey, and there is that unforgettable moment when a would-be killer says, "I got to know, are you Josey Wales?" And Josey answers, "With a bullet." Each scene reinforces the myth, but also the loneliness. The more famous he becomes, the less he can ever stop running. The climax builds not through gunfire, but diplomacy, which is why this film really stands out, because Josey rides out to meet Ten Bears, the Comanche chief, a man who, like him, has seen too much death. It's one of the best written scenes in any Western. They reach a truce, two warriors deciding the cycle has to end somewhere, and it's the heart and soul of this film, and kind of the meaning of this film is that the outlaw is choosing mercy over revenge. Now, of course, it's still a Western, so that means peace doesn't come easy. But Redlegs finally catch up, led by Captain Terrell, the man who burned Josey's family alive in the battle at the ranch is classic Eastwood. You got some quiet setup, explosive releases, and Josey picks them off one by one using terrain, traps, and sheer will. When he finally faces Terrell, it's not a duel, it's an execution. Afterward, Fletcher arrives and he finds the ranch peaceful, the settlers rebuilding, and he's told that Josey Wales died in the fight. Then he sees him alive, walking away, dust in the wind, and they exchange one last look. That final ride isn't triumph, it's release. Josey isn't avenged, he's emptied. The film ends where most Westerns begin, a man alone fading into legend. Clint Eastwood directed this film himself with restraint. There's no melodrama, no speeches, just silence and dust. The genius of the Outlaw Josey Wales is that it starts as a vengeance and ends as forgiveness. It's about survival, not victory, about building a life out of broken things. And that is why this film still endures today. That's why I picked up the Steelbook and just recently rewatched this film. For me, the Outlaw Josey Wales is a perfect Western. I think it's very raw, soulful, and timeless for the most part. It's Eastwood at his most human as a director, and as an actor, less gunslinger, more ghost looking for peace. It's dusty poetry and maybe his greatest film, if we're being honest. And so with that, that's the Outlaw Josey Wales for this episode of Choco Cinema. I know this felt more like a Pixel and Popcorn, mainly because it was supposed to be. But then it hit me, I said, no. For the whole month, we got to talk about Clint Eastwood films. So tune in next week, even if you're a new one. Come in on subscribe, because next week we talking Dirty Harry. And we going down the list, Clint Eastwood films every single Monday for Choco Cinema this month. That is the theme, and I hope to see you guys there. Like, subscribe for more.